Welcome to the next episode, and today I'm going to talk about how to challenge your credit bureau report. And why is that important? Well, before we dive into this, let me explain why it's important. First of all, let's look at the stats. I just looked at the latest quarterly stats from the NCR and showed there's about 27 million active credit consumers. And there's only 40,000 consumers who put a complaint in per month regarding their credit bureau status. It's less than 0.1%. Out of that 40, about 22,000 was in favor of the consumer. More than 55% of the information on the credit bureaus is incorrect. Now, let's break it down. A lot of the information on the bureaus could be, especially from the credit provider side, loaded debts they purchased from credit providers. Those debts could have been prescribed. Some of those debts could have reached in Duplum. Some of the information they received could be unlawful, could be fraud, and there's a whole lot of things that can interfere with your score. So what I've done is I put a bit of a PowerPoint presentation together, and where I took information out of the National Credit Act, which can maybe assist you, but also I pulled in information from the credit bureaus. You have to look at your score. So on that note, let's just share the screen. I'm going to go in here, bear with me. Okay, I'm sharing the screen there. And as you can see, I've got the National Credit Act. So, and it says, why the National Credit Act was introduced. The National Credit Act was introduced to promote and advance social and economic welfare of South Africans, to promote a fair, transparent, competitive, sustainable, responsible, effective, efficient, and accessible credit market in the industry, to protect consumers. So let's get into the next slide. A lot of our consumers are comfortable. Some of them are worried, some are distressed, because the average consumer spends 75% of their income on debt, with an average of 10 accounts. But I've got another presentation which I'm going to talk about the over-indebtedness in the workplace and over-indebtedness in the household. So what is a credit bureau? A credit bureau is a company that gathers information and updates a consumer's credit history. A credit bureau creates a record of a consumer's credit information, indicating how the consumer manages his or her credit. The credit bureau supplies these records to the credit providers, such as banks, retailers, and other credit providing companies. The information indicates each consumer's payment record. It also used to detect fraud and corruption and theft. Applying for credit from a credit provider. When applying for credit, the credit provider uses the information that they receive from the credit bureaus to assist with the application. When your credit records satisfy the standards of the credit provider, decision is to be granted to the credit. It's made by the credit provider. It is the bank, retailer, and credit provider that approves and rejects the credit application, not the credit bureau. The NCA stipulates, the Act stipulates that each credit bureau must be registered with the National Credit Regulator in order to conduct business legally. It is set out on the purpose of which consumers' credit information may be used, and the companies of which the credit bureaus may be, credit bureau may provide the information. It is set up to the standards of data accuracy, to ensure that the information kept by the credit bureau on your record is always accurate. Guys, let's read it again. It's set out standards of data accuracy to ensure that the information kept by the credit bureau on your record is always accurate. It ensures that each consumer has a right to check his or her record, that any mistakes are corrected. And this is the one I like. It says, challenge the accuracy of the information. Within 20 business days after receiving a copy of evidence in terms of Section 3A, the person who challenges the information held by the credit provider, the credit bureau, or the National Credit Register may apply in the prescribed minute and inform to the National Credit Regulator to investigate and dispute the information of a complaint under 136. So if you look at this snapshot of one of the credit bureau statements, or one of the companies that works with all the different credit bureaus, you'll see this, the sections, sorry, I just want to go back there. The section shows the red, the yellow, and the green. So sometimes we look at, each company has got a different way of looking at the scores. But if you look at the bottom, it will also show you the judgments, adverse listings, adverse information notices, active accounts, inquiries, trace alerts. Be careful for trace alerts, guys, because there's debt collectors that will put trace alerts on and use this against you. So you always have to challenge those trace alerts. Debt review statuses and dispute statuses. So this is quite a nice slide. When I was doing training on the National Credit Act, we used this quite a bit in the training by training debt counselors. So if you look at the first column, it gives you the ID number, the names and addresses, the payment history, month from 1 to 0 and month 4 to 1. So if you look at your payment profile, the first inquiry is 0, which means if there's a 0 on your credit bureau status, that means your payment history as 0 means you're up to date. If it shows a 2 equals 1, that means you one payment in arrears, because it shows that the next month you skipped, so it's now second month you want in arrears. And so you can look at all the different statuses. In judgments and defaults, it works exactly the same. And this is how you can determine, have you paid your accounts correctly? Because if you got your accounts paid correctly, you can always query this and send this through to the bureau that they can rectify it. So I'm not going to go into the Induplum side. So I just want to stop the share screen. And as you see, the Induplum is another slide which talks about accounts that's reached Induplum, but I'm going to leave that for my next session. So guys, when you look at your credit bureau status, please make sure that you double check the information. I mean, the accuracy. I mean, I've seen so much information on the bureaus where consumers has been listed, and those accounts are sometimes 14 years old. I'm going to talk about prescription a bit later on. But guys, if you need any assistance when you do a pre-approval, or your bond has been declined, or your vehicle finance has been declined, DM us, email us, our information